tracking breaking news right now. This is Local 6 Today.
Terror and tragedy at a local high school.
Team, 5 shots fired, 4 down at the high school at Marshall.
I was standing there with my friends and I heard like 2 shots.
Heartbroken after a shooting claims the lives of 2 of their own.
I just ran and I didn't stop. It was instinct that just kicked in.
I pray for those first responders that had to go and witness this.
Community leaders calling for patience as we wait for answers and to keep these suffering families in your thoughts and prayers.
Our children are our future, our greatest gift, and our foremost priority. Hold your children close tonight as you gather together.
It's been about 22 hours now since the first 911 call. Shots fired at Marshall County High School in Benton, Kentucky.
For all of us, like so many of you, it's been a blur since we learned about yesterday's tragedy. Since then, we've learned 20 students were hurt, 14 of them by gunshots. It was a painful moment in our newsroom yesterday afternoon when we heard Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin confirm 2 students died. Our co-anchor Stephanie Martinez is live in Marshall County at the high school this morning.
We'll check in with her in just a few minutes. You see it's quiet there now, kind of eerie. But John, we have weather to talk about also.
All right, out the door on our Wednesday morning, we are talking about a decreasing clouds, so return to sunshine for today. Thankfully, we don't have that strong wind that we've had the last couple of days. Winds should blow in from the west between 5 and 10, so that could still add a chill this morning. 32 is our average number at 8 as that clearing continues. Approaching 40 degrees at noon and around 43 at 3. 44 is an average high for today. So grab a thicker sweatshirt, a heavier jacket, or a light coat out the door this morning, and you may want to keep those around right on through the afternoon. Now, as winds turn to the south tomorrow, we expect those numbers to jump into the 50s for Thursday, and that could continue for a couple of more days. We'll get more into that and talk about some returning rain chances for parts of the weekend coming up with your weather on the 6s.
We continue our coverage now of the tragedy in Marshall County, Kentucky. It's something we know a lot of you have been following closely since yesterday morning. There are still a lot of unanswered questions about what happened and why. We should learn more of those details in the coming hours, days, and weeks. But here's a recap of what we have confirmed this morning. The shooting began at 7:57 a.m. in the Commons area of the high school. At 7:59, the first 911 call was received by Marshall County Dispatch. And just 7 minutes later, at 8:06, first responders were on the scene. 20 students were injured, 14 of which by gunshots. 2 of them died, 15-year-old Bailey Holt and 15-year-old Preston Cope. As for the suspected shooter, a lot of you have been sending us pictures and a name. That information has not been confirmed by investigators. All we know now is that it is a 15-year-old boy. Police arrested him at the school and he's being charged with murder and attempted murder. Again, investigators are not releasing his name or any other details about him right now. Our crews were at the Marshall County Sheriff's Department when he was transported to a juvenile facility. He's in the back seat of this police cruiser. Prosecutors tell us they plan to charge him as an adult.
The minutes and hours that followed that first 911 call were chaotic. Students trying to get in touch with their parents, parents trying to contact their children. But through all the confusion, first responders are complimenting the students, saying they did exactly what they've been told to do, and that's to run and get as far as possible from that danger. Meanwhile, our co-anchor Stephanie Martinez was the first reporter on the scene. She's back at the high school for a live report this morning. And Stephanie, what were those first moments like for you?
Mike, those first moments were in one word: awful. Absolutely heartbreaking. I know we heard over the scanner, and then once I got on the road and I was on Purchase Parkway, I had 4 cars fly by me with their flashers on, knowing exactly where they were headed. It was an awful moment, thinking of what they could find out once they arrived at Marshall County High School after the morning events yesterday. Now, once I got here, you had many people crying and just fearful of what could be. I was the first reporter here. However, I was not the first employee from WPSD here at Marshall County High School. In fact, our photographer, Chad Darnell, was here. He was dropping off his daughter yesterday morning, Maddie. Right after that, she called him, letting him know what was happening.
course, my fatherly instincts kicked in, and I got here fast, ran into the campus where she was. At that time, they were walking them to safe areas at the school. I walked her to one of those areas and got her to that safe spot.
Many parents feeling what Chad was feeling yesterday as they were trying to hold themselves together. Of course, this morning, many parents, families feeling grief and sorrow, as was already mentioned that 2 of the students died, others still recovering. Again, you have 5 of those victims at a hospital, 4 in critical but stable and 1 in stable condition this morning. Prayers going up, thoughts and well wishes to all of those here in Marshall County and those impacted by the tragic events of yesterday. Mike, Michaela.
All right,
Stephanie, thank you. Yeah, you never imagine going through something like this, and I'm sure we will remember this for the rest of our lives, hearing about the Marshall County shooting. And I was right there with Stephanie when we heard it across the scanners, and it's almost disbelief. You say this can't be what's happening in Marshall County, a place, so close to us. So many students that we know go there, and faculty, administrators.
Counselors, and I was at home on my break eating breakfast. You gave me the phone call, and the first thing I thought was not again after Heath, and so yeah, it was just a surreal day in the newsroom, and I'm sure for a lot of people.
For it to be only 2 months after the 20th anniversary of Heath, it's bringing up a lot of horrible and horrific memories for all those people.
Got a lot more to come. Here's John now with a look at our weather.
6 minutes after 6 o'clock, and we're going to start with Ultimate Doppler and show you that clouds continue to move out of the area early on this Wednesday morning. Missouri and Illinois, or rather Missouri and Tennessee, you've seen that clearing now for a few hours, and that's where we find our coldest temperatures this morning. Meanwhile, Kentucky and Illinois still seeing numbers for the most part in the 30s, although some of us are dropping into the 20s where those skies have cleared. So again, that is showing up well here on Ultimate Doppler 6 Live radars. From Carbondale to Metropolis and Paducah, skies have just recently cleared. That's where you're in the 20s right now. Meanwhile, Harrisburg, Marion, Madisonville, Hopkinsville still in the 30s with cloud cover in place at the current time. So it's a chilly morning, and for some of you, maybe even a frosty morning where those temperatures are in the 20s right now. A closer look at those clouds showing the movement here on off towards the east-southeast. Looks like some of the clouds may linger for a little while this morning near the Wabash River and east of the Lakes region as the clearing process may slow down just a little bit, but the trend as we get deeper in the day is for more and more sunshine. Well, the sun will be back today, but that doesn't mean necessarily a warm day. Temperatures pretty seasonable for this time of the year. We're starting off near freezing by the time we reach 8 o'clock, mid-30s at 10, at around 40 degrees at noon today. Our lifestyle index in the green category. No big weather concerns for today. And you can see the afternoon hours being spent in the low and mid-40s. And we're looking at clear skies as we head through this evening. And looking at our Thursday forecast, we'll have south winds tomorrow. And while it will be rather chilly out the door tomorrow morning, similar to today, the afternoon should be much milder. In fact, about 10 degrees above average with our high tomorrow, as numbers are headed into the mid-50s for Thursday.
These shirts will be available this morning at Action Sports in Paducah, and the company says 100% of the proceeds will go to the families affected by yesterday's shooting. They should be ready by 9:30 this morning. On their Facebook post, the company asks the community to join together and support each other as one community. It's going to be a difficult day, several days ahead, not only for the students who were at the school, but people across the region.
That's why Four Rivers Behavioral Health is offering grief counseling for anyone who needs it. If you or a family member needs someone to talk to, call their crisis line. That number is on your screen. It's 1-800-592-3980. We also want to pass along a message from McCracken County Sheriff John Hayden. He says there will be additional deputies at all McCracken County schools today to help those school resource officers. But there are no reports of any threats at the schools. Hayden says they just want to ease everyone's fears and provide a sense of security. We still have more to come on Local 6 today as we continue our coverage of the tragedy at Marshall County High School.
Coming up after the break, we'll check back in with Stephanie for an update on the students who were hurt It is just about to turn 6:10, and we'll be right back. We continue our breaking news coverage now of the tragic shooting in Marshall County, Kentucky. 20 students were hurt, 14 of them from gunshots. And yesterday afternoon we learned, along with you, that 2 of those students had died. 15-year-old Bailey Holt died at the school, at the scene. Another 15-year-old, Preston Cope, he later died at the hospital. Their families have not released pictures of them yet, and that's why we are not showing those to you. We're honoring the family's request. We're asking you to please keep the families and the rest of the Marshall family in your prayers in the weeks and months ahead.
We're also sending our thoughts and prayers to the survivors and everyone who was injured in yesterday's shooting. Several of you have reached out to us for an update on their conditions. For the latest on that, let's turn back to my co-anchor, Stephanie Martinez. She is live at Marshall County High School right now. And Stephanie, what have you learned about the victims?
What we've learned about the victims that are still being treated and recovering right now, we know that 4 of them are in critical but stable condition this morning. 1 is in stable condition. We know that doctors are working as best as they can to take care of those victims from the shooting that happened here at Marshall County High School. In fact, we heard from one of the doctors yesterday.
This is the first time that this institution has had to deal with a mass casualty event from a school shooting, and I don't think it's something that anybody can be prepared for fully.
We have to cut our emotions off when we're trying to save somebody's life, but you can't hold that within yourself for a long period of time.
And of course, a sleepless night for so many out there. We have Trooper Jody Cash with us right now. He's the IPO with Kentucky State Police. A sleepless night for all of you, and you're back out here early. What do you have going on this morning?
We'll reconvene at the scene and continue to process it, and I'll meet with the investigative team to determine what new information we have that may be able to be released, and either do a news conference or send it out by email, the new information, whatever that may be.
Do you know about a time frame, whether that'll be this morning or closer to the afternoon?
If we release information, I would anticipate that it would take until about noon to determine exactly what that's going to be. So we'll speak early this morning, but it may take several hours to filter through exactly what needs to be said.
And I know yesterday a lot of talk and rumors were spreading beforehand before you had your media briefing yesterday. Would you like for people just to wait for the information to come out before they say anything?
We would prefer that that they rely on us as a source of official information, but we understand that there are a lot of people affected and a lot of people that know things that they wanted to share, but we would prefer that they first share them with us if they're witnesses, and then beyond that, just let us process through that. Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So again, we're going to be sticking here at Marshall County High School throughout the rest of the morning and trying to learn what we can there from once they gather more information. So again, wearing our orange, being Marshall County strong for all of the people here who are dealing with so much on this morning.
Stephanie, thank you. We'll check back in with her throughout the morning. Now here's a look at weather with John.
Okay, Michaela, thanks. Not too many what you'd call normal days this month of January. Of course, we've had quite a bit in the way of cold air. We've had some milder days too, but this one is actually going to be pretty close to average as skies continue to clear through the course of the morning. 32, our average number at 8 o'clock. In fact, some of you may have some frost on that windshield this morning. Nearing 40 at noon and about 43 at 3 o'clock. An average high today is 44. Now, skies should be clear tonight. That will allow temperatures to fall back into the upper 20s to near 30 out the door tomorrow morning. So it could be another frosty start to our Thursday. Thankfully, wind is not a big factor in our weather today. 5 to 10 on those winds. We've had some gusts the last couple of days, 30, 40 miles per hour, especially back on Monday. All right, let's take you forward through the rest of the week because the rest of our work and school week is actually pretty quiet. Warming trend starts tomorrow with lots of sunshine, looking for afternoon numbers in the 50s. Should be a very nice day. In fact, could very well be our pick day of the week, even though we had temperatures back in the 60s on Monday. Again, that day started with some rain. Now on Friday, clouds will increase. The wind is going to pick up, so we'll call for a breezy day on Friday, but we think the daylight hours will be dry. Notice some of this rain here in Arkansas, though, late in the afternoon on Friday. Some of that activity will start to spread northeast into our areas, so we think late Friday evening at the earliest, and then through the overnight hours, we'll have some light showers to deal with, maybe just some sprinkles. But by and large, we think the bulk of the rain holds off until late Saturday morning, continues through Saturday afternoon before starting to move out Saturday evening. The model has again moved a little quicker when moving this rain out of the area, so we still think Sunday will be a dry day. No thunder involved here with Saturday's system, just some showers. We think rainfall totals around a ½ inch. Some of you maybe just a little more than that. So 44 is your high today. Sunshine and 55 for Thursday and mid-50s again on Friday. Once again, we think the threat for rain will hold off until the late evening hours on Friday, continuing into the day on Saturday. And it does turn a little cooler again into next week, but nothing terribly frigid there. Highs will drop back into the 40s with sunshine for Monday and Tuesday.
Coming up on Local 6 today, we'll have more on how you can help support the victims of yesterday's shooting in Marshall County.
Plus the message another school shooting survivor from 20 years ago was sending to the students in Marshall County High School. We'll be right back.
It was just like scary and just scary.
In shock. I mean, you don't ever think about that, something like that happening this close to home, you know, but obviously the world we live in today is a scary place.
It's something that doesn't happen here. That's the general consensus of people across the Local 6 region, but sadly this is not the first time our community has been shaken by tragedy. 20 years ago we were all struggling in the aftermath of the Heath High School shooting, and Michaela, you weren't here for that shooting, but it's something that has still touched you.
Yeah, Mike, it was just about a month and a half ago that I was sitting in this chair anchoring the special coverage of the 20th anniversary of the Heath shooting. And this is some of the file video we have from that morning of the shooting. Like yesterday's shooting at Marshall County, it happened before school on the morning of December 1st, 1997. Students were gathered at the school for a prayer circle when another student opened fire. And even though it's been 20 years, the Heath community is still working to help those now dealing with the pain of yesterday's shooting. That includes Christina Elligood, who lost her sister in the Heath shooting. We talked with Christina yesterday, and she's sending this message to Marshall County.
It's not going to be an easy time ahead of them. I mean, and I don't want to sugarcoat things, and I don't want to sound like a horrible person, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be absolutely horrible at times. And, you know, there's been some really dark times in my life, and that part hurts me so much because I know these people are going to go through similar situations, and no one deserves that.
These are the three girls who died in the Heath shooting: Christina's sister, Nicole Hadley, Jessica James, and Casey Steger. You're watching Local 6 today. We still have a lot more to come, including a look at your forecast with Weather Authority John Champion.
The time is 6:24. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
A real quick weather check this morning. Here are a few of the things we'll get more in depth about in the next half hour, but the clearing that really started last night will continue this morning, so we are talking about a return to sunshine. Warmer numbers are back in here for Thursday. Highs will get into the 50s tomorrow and probably right on into Friday and Saturday too. Speaking of the weekend, the first half of the weekend still looking soggy. Rain chances are pretty high for Saturday. Here is your Independence Bank bus stop forecast. And yeah, I'd say a sweatshirt or at least a light coat, a good idea this morning as the clearing is taking place right now through the area. 32 our average temperature at 8 o'clock. 43 is our number here at 3 o'clock this afternoon. There's probably going to be a range in temperatures though. Spots like Harrisburg and Mount Vernon where there could be a few clouds even this afternoon, near 40 degrees. In contrast, you get out into the Ozark foothills of southeast Missouri, and Poplar Bluff could briefly hit 50 later this afternoon.
Well, as the sun comes up and a new day dawns, we hope that the healing process can begin for all of those that were touched by the horrific events of yesterday. We are in Marshall County, outside of the Marshall County High School this morning in Benton, Kentucky. We know schools are not in session today. I'm Stephanie Martinez, and I'm working to find out when schools will be back in session.
It was a normal day for me and my daughter. I was dropping her off here at the high school. I got a call, Daddy, there's been a shooting.
Prayers lifted up to Marshall County.
We ask you to receive into your loving care the souls of the persons killed.
People from all over the community standing up for the victims of a tragic shooting at a local high school.
Almighty God, we come before you once again after another shooting. We are sad, God.
You really can't prepare for it emotionally.
Asking for healing, comfort, and answers.
Emotionally wrecked. It was just like scary and just scary.
It's chaotic and it can happen anywhere, even though we don't think it would happen here.
Pray for those who were affected today.
And the strength to move forward.
And please bear with us as we struggle to return to some sense of normalcy.
There's a lot of sadness, confusion, and pain across the Local 6 region. This after two teenagers, two 15-year-olds, died in a school shooting at the Marshall County High School yesterday.
It's something that has shaken our entire community. It's a story we've been following for you since we first learned about the shooting early yesterday morning. Since then, we've all been grieving along with the families for the two students who died, and we're all praying for those who were hurt or survived. Our co-anchor Stephanie Martinez was one of the first on the scene at the high school yesterday. She joins us now again at the high school. And Stephanie, do you know when students will be heading back to class?
Mike, no, not at this time. We do know that classes are not in session today. We are standing outside of Marshall County High School on the back side of the school. You can see there it is completely different from what we saw yesterday. In fact, the events of yesterday happened nearly almost 24 hours ago. So many people are covering today. Class is not in session. I've been working to get in touch with Superintendent Trent Lovett this morning. Have not been able to reach him yet. However, I've heard that when schools will be back in session will be maybe a topic discussed today. We did hear from Mr. Lovett yesterday, and this is what he had to say to us.
Our children are our future, our greatest gift, and our foremost priority. Hold your children close tonight as you gather together at vigils, churches, and homes, and please bear with us as we struggle to return to some sense of normalcy.
And throughout the morning, we've been hearing the accounts of what students saw yesterday, and it just rips your heart out. Again, emotions still high the morning after the events of the school shooting, and a lot of prayers and thoughts going out, words of hope and faith. I know when we talked to Judge Executive Kevin Neal yesterday, he said that's something that's really important right now is to hold on to that faith. Mike, Michaela.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. We'll check back in with Stephanie a little bit later. We've had continuing coverage of the shooting since yesterday morning. Here's a recap of what we know right now. It began at 7:57 in the Commons area of the high school. At 7:59, the first 911 call was received by Marshall County Dispatch. Just 7 minutes later, at 8:06, first responders were on the scene. 20 students were injured, 14 injured by gunshots. 2 of them died, 15-year-old Bailey Holt and 15-year-old Preston Cope. As for the suspected shooter, a lot of you have been sending us pictures and a name. That information, though, has not been confirmed or released by investigators. We were at the Marshall County Sheriff's Office when he was taken to a juvenile facility. He's in the backseat of this police cruiser. Prosecutors tell us they plan to charge him as an adult. As for the victims, 15-year-old Bailey Holt died at the school, and Preston Cope died later at the hospital. Their families have not released pictures of them yet, and that's why we are choosing not to show you. We're asking you to keep the rest of their families, the Marshall County family, in your prayers in the days, weeks, and months ahead.
And as Mike just mentioned, the first 911 call came in at 7:59 yesterday morning. First responders from several agencies were at the high school within minutes, including from Caldwell County. We have audio from their dispatch center as officers were called to Marshall County High School. Here's a clip of that call.
If you can respond to Marshall County High School. Marshall County High School, active shooter. People down, one unresponsive, the shooter still on. They're advising, as far as they know, it's one shooter. He is still on scene. They've got everybody responding. They know for sure at this time 4 people are down, 1 is unresponsive in the call.
So hard to listen to. We have heard from dozens of you since we first broke the news about the shooting. Most of you are offering your prayers, your thoughts to the victims and their families, and we want to share a few of those comments now. We hear from Stephanie Stroud. She says, "It's scary. You never think of these things happening so close to home." Beth Hudson says, "Prayers for all involved. My heart is hurting for everyone." Janice Wilson says, "It's a time for all of us to keep our eyes and hearts open, protect our children and grandchildren, and don't miss a beat." You can continue to share your thoughts and prayers on our Facebook fan page. We'll share some of them a little later this morning.
And Michaela, we've heard from lawmakers, local leaders, even Canada's Prime Minister. One person who many are looking to for reassurance is President Donald Trump. He has stayed quiet on the situation in Marshall County so far. The White House has not released a statement on the shooting. The president has not tweeted about it either. He has been tweeting this morning about the economy. These shirts will be available this morning at Action Sports in Paducah. The company says 100% of the proceeds will go to the families affected by yesterday's shooting. They should be ready by 9:30 this morning. On their Facebook posts, Action Sports is asking the community to join together and support each other as a community. Four Rivers Behavioral Health is offering grief counseling for anyone who needs it. If you or a family member needs someone to talk to, you can call their crisis line, and that number's on your screen, 1-800-593-3980.
Several prayer vigils like this one were held for the victims last night. Members of the Benton community came together to grieve, mourn, and pray for everyone involved.
It's time for your weather on the 6s, and clearing that took place last evening continues this morning. It looks like Missouri and Illinois, you're seeing an increasing amount of clearing right now, especially here in Illinois. But Missouri, you've been clear for a few hours. In fact, Tennessee, you've been clear for a few hours, but the process continues here across Kentucky at the current time. Temperatures where skies have cleared have dropped down into the 20s, and there could be a fair amount of frost where we have the colder temperatures. Meanwhile, that blanket of clouds holding numbers at or just above freezing here for spots like Mount Vernon, towards Harrisburg, Madisonville, and for Hopkinsville. A closer look shows these clouds are moving east-southeast, so it'll take a little time for you along the Wabash River in southern Illinois, and perhaps some of us east of the land between the lakes region of Kentucky to break out into that sunshine. But it is coming. Just going to take a little longer. Here's your power planner for today. Lifestyle index is going to be the green. No big weather concerns. We'll call for skies to range from sunny to perhaps mostly cloudy for the first few hours of today. We'll kind of split the difference with our icon and call it partly cloudy there. 32 at 8 o'clock. Numbers moving through the 30s during the course of the morning. And even with the return of sunshine, we're not talking about a warm day, but an average January day. 44 is our average high today, and we're very close to that for your afternoon ride home. Then around 40 or so by 6 o'clock this evening. Now, as we move through the evening, skies will be clear. Temperatures will drop through the 30s and probably into the upper 20s by sunrise tomorrow morning. As we take you through your Thursday forecast, we'll call it mostly sunny to sunny, and 33 our temperature at 8 o'clock. So you'll need to dress similarly to what you're dressing like this morning, with a light coat or a heavy sweatshirt, something like that out the door first thing tomorrow. 51 at noon and 54 at 3. So while we'll have similar temperatures early tomorrow morning, the afternoon will be about 10 degrees warmer than today. How long can we keep these 50s in the forecast? We'll answer that question coming up with your 7-day planner in about 10 minutes.
Coming up on Local 6 today, the shooting at Marshall County High School is touching people across the country.
That includes Kentucky Wildcats head basketball coach John Calipari. Hear what he had to say next. It is 6:39. We'll be right back. "17 minutes away from 7 o'clock. We continue our breaking news coverage. He may live and work in Lexington, but Kentucky Wildcat head coach John Calipari still feels a close tie to Marshall County. He's been to Marshall County High School on several occasions for the annual Hoop Fest. Coach Cal was asked about the shooting at the high school during his post-game news conference yesterday, and here's what he had to say.
I was literally nauseous because I had my TV on in my office, and then it came across the ticker. The sound wasn't on, and I looked and I turned it on. And it is, if you have children, my first thought was, when they said some people got killed and people were injured, was like, oh my gosh. And then they made this statement, and parents are racing there to get their children. Could you imagine that drive to that school not knowing if your child had been killed or not?
There's been an outpouring of support for the Marshall County community, as you can imagine. Michaela's live in the Breaking News Center right now with more on how people are responding to yesterday's shooting.
Mike, it's no doubt this story has touched people across. There's been so much love and support from all of you on social media, and we want to take a second to recognize and show you some of those posts from social media. During last night's basketball game between Murray High and Callaway County, both teams, you can see here, traded out their usual uniforms for Marshall's colors. Murray dressed in blue, while Callaway County wore orange. And this is how the city of Paris, Tennessee is honoring those in Marshall County. The Eiffel Tower glowed in orange and blue overnight. The city posted this picture on its Facebook fan page. Those lights will stay on for the next several days. And a touching performance from Graves County Choir. The post on their Facebook page says, in the midst of tragedy, one thing will always be there to unite us. Some big-hearted students singing despite the lump in our throats. Let's listen to some of that performance now. These are just some of the touching tributes we've seen on social media. Keep sharing those with us. It helps all the people going through this tragedy, and we'll share more as we continue to heal. Live from the Breaking News Center, I'm Michaela Bruner, WPSD Local 6.
All right, thanks, Michaela, and we will have more coverage of yesterday's tragedy coming up. For the latest information, you can also go to WPSDlocal6.com. We posted information about vigils and the latest details on the investigation.
It has just turned 6:46 and time for your weather on the 6s. A seasonably chilly day. You know, we've had a lot of cold days this month of January. We've also had some unseasonable warmth, although not as much compared to those colder days, but right on target for this part of January with average highs in the mid-40s this time of the year. That's what I'm looking at this afternoon. But out the door to some chilly temperatures this morning. Numbers are in the 20s and lower 30s right now. 32 is my average number at 8 o'clock. Around 40 at noon, about 43 by 3. We're down into the upper 20s tonight, which again is pretty close to average. Now, we had a lot of clouds in the area yesterday, but the clearing really took hold last night and continues across the area this morning. So we'll end up with a good deal of sunshine for your Wednesday. Here's your Thursday forecast. Tomorrow could actually be our pick day of the week. It'll be a sunny day, highs returning into the 50s. Now, I know we had some 60s back on Monday, but that day actually started with some rain and we had some very gusty winds. So again, tomorrow looking like one of our better days this week. Now, as we move into Friday here in your hour-by-hour forecast, clouds will be increasing, winds will be strengthening once again. And while I think the daylight hours of our Friday will be dry, by the late evening hours, there could be some light showers moving in from the southwest, and we could wake up to at least some light rain or sprinkle activity for Saturday morning. But still, it appears that Saturday afternoon will offer the best chance for a widespread soaking rain. You can see that moving in from the west throughout the day on Saturday. We're not talking thunder here. And not that heavy when it comes to rainfall totals. Most of us will probably see about a ½ inch or so. That rain moves out Saturday night, and it still appears that the back half of the weekend will be dry. 44 today, 55 tomorrow, and 56 on Friday. We'll keep the lifestyle index in the green category for no weather concerns really for the next 3 days. Saturday, that chance for showers at 70%, followed by a spell of cooler weather next week, but still nothing all that cold.
Coming up on Local 6 today, dozens of students at Marshall County High School saw things that no one should ever see.
Coming up after the break, how to talk to your kids about a tragedy like the shooting at Marshall County High School. We'll be right back. We continue our breaking news coverage. A tragic scene at Marshall County High School yesterday. This video is from just moments after our crews arrived at the high school after a student, a 15-year-old, opened fire on his classmates yesterday morning. And this is a difficult time for everyone affected, and right now it's important to lean on each other for support.
The Red Cross has some suggestions to help your loved ones stay strong. Events like this can cause feelings of anxiety since no one knows something like this would happen again. So remember, it is okay to feel nervous. It's also important to stay informed, but limit how much coverage your kids are seeing. They are especially vulnerable to stress. Parents, let your kids talk about their fears and reassure them they are safe. Let them guide the conversation. Share details only when they ask about them. And spend more time with your family and friends. Hug each other, listen. And finally, take care of yourself. Eat healthy, drink plenty of water, and get enough rest. And a reminder, Four Rivers Behavioral Health is offering grief counseling for anyone who needs it. If you or a family member need someone to talk to, call their crisis line, and that number is on your screen right now. It is 1-800-592-3980.
We're continuing to follow your comments on our Facebook fan page. Hundreds of you have been offering your thoughts and prayers to the victims and their families. We want to share a few of those comments with you now. Tina Neal Argo says, praying for these families and everyone directly affected by this terrible tragedy. My heart is hurting for you all. Mary says, peace and comfort to the families. This breaks my heart. And Hay says, if it can happen here, it can happen anywhere. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the students, their families, first responders, and our community. So very heartbreaking. You can continue to share your thoughts and prayers on our Facebook fan page.
You're taking a live look right now at Marshall County High School, where 2 students died in a school shooting yesterday. We're going to check back in with our co-anchor Stephanie Martinez coming up a little bit later.
We'll also tell you about some of the prayer vigils happening today. It is 6:53 and we'll be right back.
4 we have returned on a Wednesday morning. Our Saladino and Shaft Sky Tracker Network giving us the view from Union City and from Paducah this morning. You see that orange glow there in the sky as we're only a few minutes away from sunrise now. Clouds that were so prevalent yesterday are starting to move out this morning, and that should leave us with a good deal of sunshine. Now, if you're near the Wabash River in southern Illinois and maybe even parts of the Pennyroyal region of Kentucky, may take a few more hours for that sunshine to return to you, but it is coming. 32 chilly degrees at 8 o'clock, maybe some frost on your windshield. 39 at noon and 43 at 3. Westerly winds today between 5 and 10, so not dealing with those gusts we've had the last few days. 44 is your high today. That's right where we're supposed to be for the latter part of January. 55 tomorrow, 56 on Friday, 50s again on Saturday, but with rain becoming likely.
Heartache and hopefully healing begins today. Many of us wearing our orange. We are Marshall County strong today. A lot of people will be wearing their orange to show support for this community that was hit with the worst yesterday in that school shooting. Now on our web channel you can find crisis hotline numbers as well as vigil information vigils that will be happening today, and we'll be in here in Benton, Kentucky throughout the rest of the morning in hopes to find out when schools will get back in session. Again, schools out of session today. I've been trying to get in touch with Superintendent Trent Lovett to find out when school would be back in. We will hopefully have that information for you later, both on air and online. Stephanie Martinez, WPSD Local 6.
Thank you, Stephanie. And that is a tough call because you want the kids back in, but you want to give them time also.
We want them to return to some sort of normalcy,
Exactly,
but we want
that
to give
will
them
never
time to
happen.
grieve.
So many of you have been sharing your thoughts and your prayers with the victims, their families, the people of Marshall County, everyone affected by yesterday's tragedy.
Earlier this morning, we showed you some of the prayer vigil from last night across the region. There are a few more scheduled for today. There will be a prayer circle at Paducah Tillman High School in about 10 minutes. It's beginning at 7:10. It'll be on the front lawn of the school. The St. Mary's school system will have a rosary and prayer service at 7:15. It'll be in the high school chapel. McCracken County's Fellowship of Christian Athletes and the MCHS prayer group will hold a prayer circle at the Sea Plant Auditorium, and I'll be heading there right after this. It starts at 7:20.
Massac County High School in Illinois is also holding a prayer circle. That starts at 8:10, and the Ohio Valley Baptist Youth Group will hold a prayer service. We don't know exactly what time that will begin. We do want to remind you that, like all of you, we still have a lot of unanswered questions. That includes information about the accused and why the shooting happened.
Local, state, and federal law enforcement officers are working very hard on this investigation. You may see and read a lot about this story in the coming hours, days, and weeks. But in the words of Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin, please do not share misinformation.
As soon as we learn more information, we will share it with you both on air and online. This morning, we leave you with a live look at Marshall County High School.
We're going to possibly do that, but continue to keep the school and the entire community in your thoughts and your prayers.
We'll have more on the tragedy at Marshall County High School in the days ahead.